Should you go out and buy that very expensive car, or should you lease it? That is absolutely a question that millions of Americans ask themselves all the time when they're looking to purchase a vehicle. Just like always, there's never a black and white answer. It usually depends. And so we're going to talk about that today in our financial freedom video, so stay locked in. Hi, my name is Carson Graves, certified financial planner and president and CEO of the Retirement Education Center.
And my name is Andrea Graves, Director of Operations at the Retirement Education Center. And we want to thank you for tuning in to our Retirement Education Concepts videos. These videos were created to help to make the difficult and confusing retirement process simple.
Absolutely, because with so many retirement concepts out there, and so many retirement strategies, and of course with so many retirement products, it can become very difficult for consumers to digest it all. That's why we're so fortunate that we work with a team of expert advisors to help us build a financial roadmap that will let our clients know when, where, and how they can reach their retirement goals.
For additional concepts on how to maximize your retirement, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new videos. Carson, whether to buy or whether to lease has always been a topic of debate when it comes to certain assets. So what side do you lean on?
Well, to be honest, Andrea, I don't really lean on either side when it comes to buying versus leasing, because I know there are valid reasons for people to make those decisions based off of their financial goals and objectives. So on our channel, what we always do, just like we do for our clients, is that we try to educate you so you can make a smart decision on your own. And we do this by pointing out the advantages and disadvantages of making any certain choices. And so that's exactly what we're going to do today, Andrew. We're going to point out the advantages and disadvantages of buying versus leasing. But before we get into our lesson, there are always two rules to retirement income that we like to give you. And Andrew, what are those two rules?
Well, rule number one is to never run out of money. And rule number two is to never forget rule number one.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of buying versus leasing a vehicle.
Carson, leasing has been commonplace in the business world for many years. Most companies lease their offices, their buildings, and as a matter of fact, we lease our office. So is it really a good idea to lease a vehicle?
Well, it could be a good option for certain people. The main thing, Andrew, when it comes to leasing a vehicle is really just understanding the terms of that lease. And once you understand the terms of that lease, then it can become a very easy answer for you. So when a consumer goes into a dealership to lease a car, this is pretty much how it's going to take place. The dealer is going to subtract what they call the residual value of this car or this vehicle, and they're going to base this off an agreed upon price of the car. And they're going to set certain terms. Maybe it's a 3-year lease, maybe it's a 5-year lease, and they are going to base it on a certain annual percentage rate at that time. So just to give you an example of this, if you'll put this on the screen for us so people can really get an idea of how this works, let's just say you have Mr. I Don't Know, and he's walking into the dealership and he wants to lease a car today. Well, let's just say this car has a value of $30,000. That's the agreed upon value of this car. Well, what they also are going to agree on is that what is the residual value of this car? And basically the residual value is what that car could actually go for in 3 years. Let's say the term is 3 years. So let's just say they believe that in 3 years, this car can be sold back to the dealership or sold to a consumer at $15,000. So with that being the case, they're going to subtract that $30,000 agreed upon value of the car at the fair market value minus the residual value of what that car could be sold for in 3 years. And Mr. I Don't Know is going to be paying the difference at an annual percentage rate. Let's just say it's 5%. So he's going to be paying 5% on $15,000 over 3 years. And of course, based off of those terms, if you have a trusted financial calculator, you'll know that the present value of that $15,000 at a 5% annual percentage rate over a 3-year time frame, Mr. I Don't Know would be paying about $450 per month for that vehicle. And at the end of that lease, all he can do is just go back and return that vehicle back to the dealer.
Well, Carson, leasing seems pretty straightforward from that example you just gave, but how would the person still know if that's the right thing for them to do?
Well, one, they should just watch this video, right? Watch this video and play it back. But we can talk about the advantages and disadvantages of leasing a car. I think that would really make it easier, Andrea, for people to really understand if it's right for them. So let's go ahead and put this on the screen for everyone to take a look at the differences here, Andrea. When we're talking about leasing a car, the primary advantages would be, one, no down payment. So when you go into the dealership and you're looking to lease a car, you won't have to come out of pocket a couple of $1,000s or more to actually get into that car. So that's one primary advantage of leasing a car. Another great advantage is that you're going to have lower monthly payments. That is a great advantage over leasing a car versus buying a car. Another prime advantage of you leasing a car is that the person who leased that car to you, the dealer, they are going to bear the risk of obsolescence. So I'm just going to give a really, really old example. If you went into that dealership and you actually leased a car and the windows, you were letting it down by hand, well, 3 years later, you go back and all the cars are basically electronic. When you're letting your windows down, then that car is obsolete. So you're not going to be able to get any value for that car. But guess what? It's not on you. It's on that dealership. And the last advantage that I think that people should really take note of when it comes to leasing a car, we know that we all have to get our cars maintenance. From year to year, things break down. And when you're leasing a car, that maintenance requirement is going to be on the dealership. They're going to be the ones usually servicing that car. And that obviously can save individuals thousands of dollars when it comes to repair costs. Now let's turn our attention to the disadvantages of leasing. This is what could make people a little bit uncomfortable if they decide to lease this car. One is that you're going to have a restriction on how you can use this car. They may tell you you can't go a certain amount of miles in this car, and if you do, you may have to pay a little bit more for that lease when you return it. So that's a big disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that if that car were to maybe appreciate in value or maybe worth more at the time of your sale, I know that's not very typical, but of course we all remember during the pandemic, there was a shortage of cars. So people who were looking to sell their cars at that time actually could sell their cars at a premium. But when you're leasing a car, you won't get a chance to participate in that appreciation of value if there ever is an appreciation in your car. And another disadvantage is the long-term cost of leasing. This is one that I find most unfavorable to me, because when you are done leasing that car for whatever the terms may be, you do have to turn that car in, but you don't really stop needing a car, right? You still need to drive a car somewhere unless you're retired and you're taking the bus or you're taking the public transportation systems everywhere. If you're utilizing those things, then fine, you don't need a car anymore. But beyond that, if you still need a car, you're going to have to renew a different lease with another car and continue those payments.
Well, Carson, according to a new report from Business Insider, more and more U.S. shoppers are buying rather than leasing. And it indicates that leases make up only about 17% of the car market.
Yeah, that report seems to be pretty accurate, right? I mean, most of the time when you're talking with individuals, whoever it may be, they're always talking about buying a new car. You don't hear so many people talking about leasing a new car. And so, yes, buying is going to be probably the most predominant part of the car market. But just like with leases, Andrea, there are advantages and disadvantages to buying a car as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of buying a car. And let's go ahead and pop that back on the screen for everyone to see. So the first advantage that I want to point out for buying a car would be that you do own that car. You own it. So that means that if you want to go out and put some new rims on that car, you can do so. If you want to put a new paint job on the car, you can do it as well, because you own it. There are no restrictions to what you can do with that particular car. It's yours. Versus leasing, that would not be an option for you to do. You have to make sure you stay within the parameters of the lease, because that car has to be returned for perhaps someone else to buy it, or the dealership can sell it as well. Another advantage for buying a car is what we noted as a disadvantage of leasing a car. When you buy a car, you absolutely can participate in the appreciation of that car. The car value market goes up and you're owning a certain type of car, you can absolutely sell it and take advantage of the appreciation of that car. And the last advantage that I want to point out as it pertains to buying a car, Andrea, is that the payments do stop when you buy a car. I mean, your car is paid for, my vehicle is paid for as well. And when your cars are paid for, just imagine the amount of dollars that you've actually infused back into your household, right?
Thousands.
Thousands of dollars per month. So what can you do with it? Of course, you can build up a huge emergency fund. You can end up using some of that money to fund your child's education. You can fund more of your retirement savings. There are just so many things you can do when you've actually gotten rid of one type of payment, such as a car note. You can also take those payments and start paying down some other ancillary debts that you may have. So when you can look at the advantages of buying a car in the sense that it is not going to be in perpetuity, that it's going to have an end to it, that is a significant advantage over leasing. But there are some disadvantages as well when you're talking about buying a car, just like any financial product out there. So there are always going to be some advantages and there are always going to be some disadvantages. So with buying a car is no different. One of the disadvantages of those who are buying a car versus someone who might be leasing a car is that you will have to go in and have a down payment to purchase that car. They basically are going to want you to put up some sort of equity. Sometimes you may need to trade in another car. If that's not the case, then you're probably going to have to put some money in. When you're buying a car, they simply want to make sure you have some equity in that car as well. Because if you can't afford that car and they have to come and take it from you, they just want to make sure you also have some skin in the game as well. So you may be required to put down a certain amount of a down payment. Another disadvantage when it comes to buying a car versus leasing a car is that your payments are definitely going to be higher. Now, if you refer back to the example that we were talking about with Mr. I Don't Know when he was leasing the car for $450 a month, he was only paying that amount on that $30,000 car because he was leasing it for 3 years for $15,000. The difference in the value of the car and the residual value. But when you're buying that car, you're going to be paying the fair market value of the car. Mr. I Don't Know buying that car would have had to pay $30,000 or financed $30,000 for that car. And of course, those payments would be higher than when he was only leasing the car and financing it at $15,000. And one of the last disadvantages of buying a car versus leasing a car, which I think cannot be ignored, Andrea, is that you, not the dealer, you are going to now bear the risk of obsolescence. So, for instance, if you're buying that gas guzzler today, 3 or 5 years from now, if all cars were basically electric vehicles, well, your gas guzzler may be obsolete and you won't have any value in that car. And another major disadvantage, as opposed to leasing, is that when you have to fix that car, when you have to go in for those expensive repairs, you're going to be responsible for those repairs. So a lot of times you may see people have a warranty on those cars, which is probably important because if you do have to pay for those repairs, maybe the warranty will cover it. But nevertheless, it's going to cost you something in order to make sure that you are covered for the repairs, whether it comes out of your pocket or whether you're paying for that extended warranty. Doesn't really matter. You're going to be responsible for those repairs in one way or another. So of course, that's going to be a significant disadvantage versus leasing.
Well, Carson, this was good information in helping us understand the risk of buying versus leasing. So thank you again for your insight on this topic, and thank you for watching. And if you felt this information was beneficial for you, please like this video and share with others.
So I really do hope that the information that we shared with you today will be beneficial in helping you understand the advantages and disadvantages when it comes to buying versus leasing a car. Please understand that these videos are created for educational purposes only, and that you should always seek out your own financial advisor, your own tax advisor, and your own attorney regarding your personal situation. And if you are looking for a fiduciary financial advisor to help you with these types of complex financial matters, we highly recommend that you utilize the links in our description below and go ahead and schedule a 1-hour free consultation with us today.
For more information about this topic or any of the other topics that we've shared in our other videos, please feel free to reach out to our office or leave any questions or comments in the section below. After this video, please check out our other videos that will give you tips on how to maximize your retirement. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have questions,
we have answers.